Hey, it's Sick Boy from the Gaming and his collective. Just wanted to put something down on video reasonably quickly to get an update on this Sony patent issue. I've had a lot of good feedback. The information itself is going viral around, it seems like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It's great information. It's a bit of a shame and understandable that the gaming media aren't grabbing hold of this as a story or doing anything with it, frankly, because they don't care. That's not what the gaming media is there for. So we really can't rely on anyone except for the gaming community to stand up and to make our views heard and say exactly what we feel about this. And this isn't just about particularly Sony's patent. This is about how the industry is trying to clamp down on media in a way that works completely contrary to the way business practices work. You know, there are a lot of intellectual property. Hang on 1 second. I've got a book here. This is an intellectual property. This is exactly the same. It's a copyrighted intellectual property. It's been written by a writer, it's been published by a publisher, and it's been sold to me. Now, if I want to give that to someone or sell it to someone, the law is in place to do that. The problem is that the media industry is pushing their technology in order to set precedents and set these rules, and that's why we need to fight it. Because really, the law is way behind. I have spoken. In the UK, we have a number of different groups, same as you do in the US or wherever you are, and I spoke to the UK Trading Standards officers, and they're there to give essentially advice to consumers. So I laid down the situation. I explained to them both Microsoft's patent for the facial recognition, freezing films, what have you, and also the Sony single usage, preventing used games patent lock thing. So they have their concerns. I sent them the information. They looked into current law. They've come back and said under UK law it is not illegal, but it is in a legal grey area where it is against the spirit of the law, but it's not strictly illegal as far as they're aware. What they've asked us to do is to go and contact the Intellectual Properties Office, which is a group in the UK that deal purely with issues regarding intellectual property. So they should have a better understanding of what the discussions are, and from there we can be in a better position to approach the Office of Fair Trading, who, if you're in the US, that's the equivalent essentially the Better Business Bureau. And if we can have a strict understanding of the legal ramifications and how this works and how this potentially impacts, because not only my comments, I made comments about used games and about sharing, other people have brought up great points like charity shops, like the Salvation Army. They rely on used media. That you go into a charity shop, you'll find it's full of cassettes, DVDs, CDs. If they prevent these from being distributed, it does ruin a whole sub-economy. Not just the resale, but also charities. And there are whole websites that are out there in order to, the whole business models out there, granted they're not great value for the consumer, but there are businesses out there that can legally, within their rights, you can sell them your second-hand goods and they'll resell them. It's an entire massive economy. It's a much bigger economy than the gaming industry accepts that it is. It's a huge economy. The used game sales, although they aren't great in store, they're quite a rip-off, they do keep these companies afloat. In the UK, Game went bankrupt. And pretty much the only thing bringing in the revenue are used games, because new games, the margins are too low. They're too low for everybody. They're too low for the developers, they're too low for the publishers, they're too low for the stores, and the prices are too high for us. That means that somewhere along the line, the development costs are too high, and that really comes down to the console manufacturers and their cost to entry on their platform. So that's really their job to resolve this, and they can't resolve it by crippling a massive chunk of the population. It's really not on. And I've seen such great responses. There's been loads of great videos out there. I've seen a good dozen or so very well thought out, reasoned arguments, and everybody I speak to, every single person, has said if they do this, I will never, not even buy a PlayStation 4. Most people said they were willing to boycott Sony for the rest of their lives. And that is only through our small channel, the video that I made a few days ago. we've got 100 or something, 100 and something likes on a video after a couple of days, which for a channel our size I'm quite happy with. And loads of comments, everybody saying this is bullshit. I've given up gaming because of things like this, or I'm not going to buy that console. They need to realise that they cannot keep relying on recycling children as their market. They keep, kids want the game, so they push the adults to buy the games without realising, and they have a whole market here. I looked into it. I looked into the information about how much gaming is actually aimed at children, and really at least 50% of all games that have been well received by the market over the last 12 months have all been adult games. All games inappropriate for children. About 30, off the top of my head, I think it was now 30%, 32%, I think, were teen games. And that includes pretty much all fighting games other than Mortal Kombat, all those kind of violent but not adult so much games. And then children's games, proper little children's games, about 18%. So, sort of the teenage and the adult game market is where the majority of the money is made. It's where the majority of the games are actually being pitched at. And they're really shooting themselves in the foot here. They need to realise that, if anything, they need to retain gamers. People just giving up and not bothering gaming anymore, that's a consumer gone. That's really foolish. You need to build. That is how. Activision haven't made billions on Call of Duty by just aiming it at small children. I know adults who spend their bloody near waking existence playing it. I don't understand why, but I know people who spend days of their lives, already spent days of their lives playing it online. It is a huge, huge economy. How many really tiny children play things like Warcraft or played Diablo 3? How many small kids went out and bought Diablo 3? It was all adults who were pissed with it. It's the reason that it went down the way it is, and it was because of the always online DRM and things like that. The companies need to appreciate that they are shooting themselves right in the foot. And this isn't us being angry, shirty, shouty teenagers about it and demanding that they give us everything for no money at all. We can all agree that these companies need to make profit. We understand that. It's an adult response. Their business, they're there to make money. But at the same time, they're hurting the longevity of their business. And we, as consumers, have exactly what they want. Free market research. Everybody who's commented, everybody who said they want to do something, not one person has said, if you pay me for it. We're all willing to do this because we love gaming. It's a hobby that we've grown up on. It's something that we enjoy spending our time doing, and we're passionate about it being alive for continuing generations. We're all in this purely to ensure that the gaming industry can continue, that they can keep making games. And eventually, they're going to run out of developers. It's going to go ridiculous, and gaming is going to turn to a completely different kind of medium. It's already happening that way. Things, consoles like the Ouya and stuff. Another one coming out of Kickstarter. I've forgotten what it's called. There's another one coming from Kickstarter as well. These big companies are pricing themselves out of their own market, and they need some help and advice from us. And then if they don't listen to us, that's the time that we become petulant and tell them, shove your company up your arse. Let's give them the opportunity to change, because otherwise we're just bitching. There's no point bitching, it does nothing. You go on YouTube, you go anywhere, you see nothing but people bitching. Had Dark Guyver 6, I think his handler's on YouTube. He really flew into action over this, which is really great to see. He called up Sony, he called up, he made a big fuss about these things, he really pushed. And do you know what he came back and told me? No one's complaining. They've never heard of people complaining about on-disc DLC, about all these things. All this is internet backlash, and this isn't enough. This isn't how businesses respond. They don't care what people say on the internet. They really don't. Not so much. There was the Mass Effect thing, and then they did the big campaign where they sent all the cupcakes. That got things done. But this is the sort of thing where people, and I've made a video about it in the past, about people understandably going, what's the point? What's the point? Nothing's going to change. This is always shit. They've always been shit. They're always going to rip you off. What's the point? And I don't think we've ever actually tried, truly, to steer the gaming industry to where it needs to be. And they pay people hundreds of dollars and hundreds of pounds an hour to come up with these insights as to what the market wants. And they don't know what the market wants. These people aren't gamers. These people don't know anything about the ramifications of the technology, about what makes a good game. They're just guessing. They're looking at trends and predicting. We're gamers. We understand our industry. We understand the provider of our industry, and we know what we want. And what we don't want is to be treated like the way we're being treated. So, that aside, I just want to give some acknowledgements to some of the feedback. I've tried to comment as much as I can. I'm running a little bit behind on getting through all the comments because it's the weekend and I've got a lot on. But I just want to thank everybody who's watched this show, who's commented, everyone who's shared. Particularly, I'd like to give a shout out to Event Status for retweeting my video when I banged it up and sent it to him, because I know it's something that he's very passionate about, and I appreciate his shout out in the video as well. That was really helpful. I'm sure a lot of my traffic is coming from his viewers, and that's really appreciated. It's really helping us get our voice out there, because as far as I'm concerned, I know that the Gaming Antis Collective is saying the right things. We want the positive changes, and we need as much support as we can get, and we need as many people to become involved and share information, because this is all about the free exchange of information, free exchange of ideas, and making a positive difference. Also, want to make a particular shout out to a couple of people. One is Welsh Scott 501, who's made a comment on our YouTube videos, and he's been going around YouTube and he's been collating all of the videos that people have made over the last few days, and he started a Facebook group. So anyone on Facebook, strongly recommend you check out the Say No to Sony's patent block on used games. It's the only thing. If you literally type in, I think, Say No to Sony's patent, it's pretty much the first thing that pops up. I think it is the first thing that pops up. And he's gone around and he's collated all of the views, all of the videos, in order to show a concerted voice that this is the community's voice. I've not heard a single opinion of someone saying it's fucking brilliant, they shouldn't be allowed to do used games. So, also, one more before I do, actually no, sorry, a couple more. One is to Uwe Carmichael, who commented on Facebook earlier. He came up with a fantastic idea, and I think we need to spread this idea around, that we should have some kind of group call on Skype, people who want to be actively involved in this, people who want to make the phone calls, draft the letters, talk to the people, spread the information. We need to get together and do this. And he suggested that we do a Skype discussion. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we should spread that information around, and then we should organise between us who's hosting it, when we're going to host it. The only thing I would suggest is that I urge that we don't rush into this. I mean, we do it quickly, but everybody who wants to be involved, please get involved. We all need sensible people getting involved with this situation. So, wherever you live, I've had some people commenting from the US, from Belgium, from Japan, wherever you live, look into your local law. I, and us at the GSE, are looking into the UK law specifically, because that's where we're based. So we're looking into the legal ramifications in the UK. We'll have that information, hopefully this week, a final say as to where it legally stands. Of course, if it legally stands against Sony, we've got such a great start. If it doesn't, we've got more of a fight. We've got more of a fight in our hands, but it's still a fight we need to have. So I urge you, look into your local laws, call up your local consumer advocacy groups, explain to them how this kind of technology and this kind of thinking works totally contrary. When you talk about reselling things, be sure to consider things like intellectual property sales. Things that someone has created and it's their copyrighted material. So not so much apples or things like that, but books, CDs, video games, all these things that someone has created, and about where your legal rights stand with resale or sharing. So I urge everybody who wants to get involved, start looking into this. Make it a priority this week when you've got some spare time. Make a few phone calls, send a few emails, badger a few people, spread the word. I really think we can make a big difference here. I don't think something like this has riled so many people so quickly in a way that's actually resulted in positive, because a lot of times it leads into a load of bitching and shouting and screaming, and I've heard a few people who have said, and rightly so, well, I'm glad I don't buy the PlayStation. the fact of the matter is, it's not about whether you play the PlayStation or not. It's about whether you play games, because this has implications. They set precedents other companies will follow. Your PC's not safe, not even your Ouya is safe, your Wii U, your Xbox, nothing. Handhelds, Android games, these things, I mean, there's already a huge issue that needs to be addressed with regards to the resale of digital games. But when you're talking about physical copies of games, this is a step too far. I think we've all agreed this is abject bullshit, and that we won't stand for it. One last thing before I wrap this up. This one, particularly to Martial Law 201. You've been a bit concerned that I was limiting myself. I was drinking Jack Daniels because it's a bit filthy, and I'll be honest with you, it's not the best. So just to let you know, don't worry, I've got myself a couple of nice crystal decanters, and here's an 18-year-old Glenmorangie. So don't worry, I'm not stuck with that filth. Although it's quite nice. The reason I went straight for that bottle of Jack is it happened to be up here in my gaming room, and I really felt the need to hammer some bourbon. So yeah, this is much more of a sipping and enjoyable whiskey. Lovely. So yeah, thanks for reminding me that I had that there. Okay, everybody. Again, it's great to see this feedback. I think we need to keep this momentum going. Anybody has got any ideas, information they want to share, information that they want, I think we need to start sharing information on this. So, feel free. Go to the Say No to Sony's Patent to Block Used Games Facebook page. Comment on our videos, our Twitter feed, @GamingAnarchist. Tweet us. Come onto our Facebook group and send messages, whatever. We're happy to act as coordinators in this. If someone else wants to take it on, feel free. We're willing to share the burden, but there's no point us all running in separate directions. We all need a plan of action, and we all need a coordinated, mature, and adult consumer response. And if we do, I have absolutely no doubt we'll get exactly what we want and what we deserve, and that is a thriving and healthy gaming industry that isn't criminally ripping off their customers. Cheers, guys. Speak to you soon.